Welcome, everybody. Today we are going to look at Mark 7:24 to 30. And I'm going to read it from the New Living Translation. And here it goes. Then Jesus left Galilee and went north to the region of Tyre. He didn't want anyone to know which house he was staying in, but he couldn't keep it a secret. Right away, a woman who had heard about him came and fell at his feet. Her little girl was possessed by an evil spirit, and she begged him to cast out the demon from her daughter. Since she was a Gentile, born in Syrian Phoenicia, Jesus told her, "First, I should feed the children. My own family, the Jews. It isn't right to take food from the children and throw it to the dogs." She replied, "That's true, Lord, but even the dogs under the table are allowed to eat the scraps from the children's plates." "Good answer," he said. "Now go home, for the demon has left your daughter." And when she arrived home, she found her little girl lying quietly in bed, and the demon was gone. This is a passage for me that rings bells because it's something I've heard many, many times, because in the Anglican communion service, there's a snatch of it in a prayer known as the Prayer of Humble Access, which has the line, "We are not so worthy so much as to gather up the crumbs under your table." So it's sort of one of those ones that's always been part of my sort of understanding. And when you think about it again, it's a bit of a shocker. Here is racist Jesus. Jesus is saying his own race comes first. The other races are the dogs. They only get what's left. And the woman apparently accepts this rather than getting offended. We have to see this story in its context. First century Judaism is a society that's racist in a very odd way. I'm told racism is prejudice plus power. And now the Jews don't have the power, but they do have the prejudice. They may be oppressed by the Romans, but in their minds, they are God's chosen people, and everyone else isn't. So they are dirt, and they are the not chosen ones. And also, this story comes after we've just spent a long time with Jesus debating with the Pharisees and his disciples about ritual purity and being clean and unclean. And what Jesus has been saying is it's not whether you eat the right food or wash properly before eating that makes you unclean. It's what comes out of your heart. So he's abolishing the purity laws, and by doing that, he's been chipping away at the barrier that the Jews have erected between themselves and the rest of the world to keep themselves special for God. And to be fair, they thought that was what God was asking them to do. So after giving this teaching about it's what's inside, not what you're putting into the body, Jesus puts this teaching into practice. This woman has faith in him. She has got the right stuff inside. So she gets her daughter healed. And the fact that she's ritually unclean, because she's a Gentile, is not important to Jesus. So it's an illustration of the teaching he's just done. And I think it also shows us a bit about the character of Jesus. He knows he's on a mission to the Jews. He's got to preach the good news to them. and they have to reject him and put him to death. And he's single-minded about that mission. But even though he's so single-minded, he can't help responding to an appeal from someone with faith. He loves it when people have faith in him, whoever they are. And a couple of questions for you. The first is, can you be like the Jews in this story and have a Christian superiority complex? Do you think, can you fall into that trap of thinking that because we are now God's chosen people, Christians are specially endowed with wisdom and righteousness? And a quick look around you and a study of church history should tell you that that's not true. And I don't think it's an issue for many of us, but I think it is quite easy to have an evangelical superiority complex. We're the ones worshipping Jesus in the right way, and all the other ways are mistaken, or they're not taking it seriously enough, or they haven't thought about it properly. And do we find ourselves talking dismissively about dead churches? And I think if we think like that, we're in the wrong. A lot of non-evangelicals take Christianity very, very seriously and have given it a lot of thought. And a quick look at the US at the moment shows you evangelicals do not seem to be specially blessed with wisdom. Also, do we judge people by their behavior, how they conform to rules like who you have sex with and how much you drink, rather than whether your heart is open to God? Because it's not that rules are important. They are important, but maybe it's not what God is looking for first. Another question is, are we so focused on mission that we miss the opportunities right in front of us to do God's work? Jesus in this story is really focused on his mission, but he can't help making time to love. And I think we need to be the same. I think this is probably more of a problem for our leaders than for us. To be honest, most of us struggle to get aboard the mission train rather than getting over fixated on driving it. But maybe it's worth thinking about, where do you need to be less focused on goals and spending more time on loving the people in front of you? So in our prayers today, let's ask God to prompt us about who is in front of us that needs loving. And that's all I have to say today.